The FTC has brought charges against this company, American Immigration Center, because they defrauded consumers who were trying to prepare renewals and different things for their immigration status by completing the various forms that the United States government provides. The Federal Trade Commission found that they had scammed over $2.2 million from consumers. And the consumers who were defrauded were those who thought they were actually on a federal government website. These scammers created websites that gave the appearance that the consumer was actually completing the necessary forms on the federal government's website. This particular settlement involves scammers who created websites that appeared to be federal websites for people seeking to complete immigration requirements or forms. In this particular settlement, the FTC wants to remind consumers that there are fraudulent websites out there and to pay attention to the URL. This company actually falsified the fact that they were affiliated with the federal government. They alleged on their website that they were in some way affiliated with the Immigration Service. They did this to sell a form preparation service to consumers, and it's been going on since 2010. Many of whom were attempting to reach the government site to renew their green card or apply for naturalization. The FTC settlement bars the defendants from continuing their misleading business practices and requires them to pay $2.2 million to compensate consumers. This complaint reminds us that everything on the internet, you have to really pay attention to where you're going, because that's what they did. These individuals used fake websites. So when people went on Google, Yahoo, or Bing to search for the immigration services to complete their forms, they would be directed to a website that appeared to be U.S. government. So when they searched online, say for instance you type in renew, your citizenship or whatever, and it comes up, and the way they wrote their ads was USCIS forms, easy apply forms for green card and citizenship. Well, people would click on these and they would actually think that they were going to the government website. As it says here, when they would search, use a search engine to look for immigration related websites, and they would click on these links, it would direct them to their website. Consumers really believed they were on government websites because the defendants designed their websites to foster that false impression. They had government-related images such as the U.S. passport or pictures of then President Obama, patriotic color schemes of red, white, and blue, and web address or URL with such as usimmigration.us.com.info.com. The dot is the key, and this is what people didn't notice, because all government websites have .gov, and you cannot fake that, and you cannot get a .gov website unless you are a government entity. So this is how people were tricked. They didn't pay attention to where it was directing them. They just saw what was on the web page images, so they didn't check the URL at the top to see where they have been directed to. And that's what this case is warning consumers to really pay attention to that. And the defendants didn't really tell people that all they were a form preparation service simply by the kind of names they used. They used like abbreviated versions of form names such as Green Card Renewal Form 190. The FTC alleges that the defendants did not explain who they were, that they were really selling a software wizard to fill out the government immigration forms. So, and then they charged fees, and they didn't tell the consumers that the fees were not filing fees for their forms to the federal government. And the complaint states that many consumers did not realize that they were not on a government website until they had already paid the defendants' fees from $120 to $300, and they also provided a lot of personal information. basically their little wizard completes the forms for you, get your little packet all together and everything. And so they are not out of business. But what the federal government did, not only did it require them to give back $2.2 million, but it made them have to correct their website. Basically, they have to remove all of that misconception that they had and be clear that they are not affiliated with the federal government, and people need to go ahead on and file their forms with the necessary government fees. The company names to look out for are Forms Direct Inc., Immigration Direct, American Immigration Center, File Right, United Immigration Inc., U.S. Immigration Technology, and this gentleman's name here. So Forms Direct Inc. is the parent company, I guess, of all these other little limited liability corporations. So these are the companies to look closely at. If you end up on one of these websites, pay close attention. The program may be very effective in compiling them, but that is all it's doing. It's just a way to complete the necessary documentation. They have no affiliation with the federal government. Here are some little scam warnings the Federal Trade Commission put in this notice. Things to look out for. Recognize real U.S. government websites. If the site address ends with .gov, it is from the U.S. government. No one else can have a .gov URL. You can't spoof it. You can't fake it. So they can put it somewhere in the URL. Say, for instance, it could be a name with .gov, then .net, then something else. But just to be ending with .gov, that's not something you can do. .gov / this and different agencies. So you really want to pay attention to the URL. Never pay for blank government forms. You can get free immigration forms at this website, or you can call this number that's listed here. There may be a filing fee, but the forms themselves are free. Don't use this Notario Publico for legal advice in the U.S. Notaries are not lawyers and are not allowed to give you legal advice. To find a free or low-cost immigration lawyer, check out the state-by-state list from the U.S. Department of Justice. So you do not want to use a notary to give you immigration advice here in the U.S. This is a screenshot of the actual U.S. and Immigration Service website, and as you can see, the URL is uscis.gov. It's not .com or anything like that. If you have immigration questions, go to the immigration website, which is found at ftc.gov/immigration, and it will give you information about spotting a scam, how to report it to the FTC or to your attorney general in your state. I added this particular slide. This was not in the document. I found this on that immigration website, the one that says ftc.gov/immigration. There's a section in there on help. And this is one of the items I saw, and they had one, I might have been scammed, and this tells you what to do. So you definitely, if you were part of this scam, you need to call, the Immigration Service Customer Service Center, and here is the number. I would definitely follow up with them. If you completed any of those forms and you're not sure if everything went the way it was supposed to be, you definitely should check. The FTC has really done the community a great service by catching these individuals. And even though they've been functioning since 2010, I'm just so glad that the federal government has forced them to have to make restitution for the customers who use them, the consumers who are tricked by them. And they're being forced to return $2.2 million to the community, and that is a great thing. So I would definitely call that number that was on the previous slide to your immigration customer service and let them know if you were part of this scam, so you can find out what you need to do if you have monies coming, or where you need to check to find out about that. Once again, thank you for visiting my channel, and have a great day.